Welcome to Cheese in Depth. I'm Michael Landis, and today I have Pat Ford on, and he's with Beehive Cheese. And we're going to talk about ingredients and different things that you can do with the cheese. And one of the things that he does so well is his rubs. And when you look at some of the things that you can use, it's really just amazing what it can do to a cheese and how it brings out a lot of the flavors. But it's not as easy as it seems, and he'll explain that as we go along. But first, since this is the American Cheese Month, I thought we would start off with a simple question asking Pat, what was his first experience like at ACS? First time there, Pat?
So our first ACS was in Portland in 2005. We started making cheese in September, and so we had basically not even started making cheese yet when we went to our first ACS, but it was amazing. It was so cool. We met so many people. Everybody was so helpful. And I mean, we always joke about it being summer camp, but it was summer camp. We met a lot of people. It was somewhat intimidating to be with a bunch of people that we knew of and loved their cheeses, but they were very gracious and kind. And again, you forged lifelong friendships at those conferences. And we met a lot of people that we ended up doing a lot of business with over the years. So ACS was imperative. It was fundamental to our success and the relationships that we found there.
You have been on many committees. For those that are thinking about, volunteering and all that, what's your advice for somebody to get involved?
Do it. I was a treasurer and secretary on the board for 6 years. It was amazing. I have learned so much and forged, again, so many relationships with amazing people, and the people that we served in the ACS membership, we were able to really help out. The CCP program, Sue Sturman and Sasha Davies were so critical to the beginning days of that. And they basically, the first year that the CCP happened, I was on the board, and that was kind of my baby. I was in charge of making sure that came off good, and it was amazing. But I would just suggest get involved in whatever committee you want to or you can, and they really love to see some participation before you jump onto the board. For instance, get your feet wet on some of the committees, volunteer at conference, be part of the judging and competition, whatever. So it's just get involved, get to know people, have fun. I mean, just for instance, we were brand new. We didn't know what we were doing. And we ran into Jeff Jarrett with Caves of Faribault. Everybody knows Jeff. We love Jeff. And, we had some problems with some mechanical openings with our cheeses up front. And he laughed. And I said, it's really not funny. Why are you laughing? And he's like, just turn the air down on your press, your pneumatic press. And we did, and it fixed the problem. So, there's so many years of experience. I remember asking Sid Cook one time with Car Valley Cheese. I said, Sid, and it's kind of a dumb question, but I said, what's the most important step of cheese making? And he laughed again, like, you novice. He patted me on the shoulder, but he said, and it was profound, he said, the most important step of cheese making is the step you're at right then, right now. If you mess up something, you can't fix it down the line. So you've got to do everything right as you go along the way. And so just you end up meeting and talking to and learning and growing and collaborating with pretty much everybody you meet. If you engage. If you don't, and you just go and walk around and don't engage, then you're not going to get nearly as much out. The thing that we've loved so much about the cheese industry as well is, it sounds funny, but my very favorite people to see at conference are my competition. And we just don't view them that way. We view them as our peers and our friends and are people we can give a big hug to. Hopefully now with the COVID might be going away a little bit, but you know, we collaborate, we talk about problems that we're having, we talk about solutions, and everybody shares, and it's just so, it's so fun to just be able to talk and help each other out. There's lots of opportunity. This is a story that I always love, and Zoe probably will be mad at me for telling it, but we were doing a session, and Peg from Cowgirl was there, Allison from Vermont Creamery, and Zoe was there. And Peg was supposed to follow Zoe's presentation. She said, I am not following her. She's just too good. And that's not the way she put it, obviously. She threw in a few expletives. But anyway, again, I mean, we could call up Zoe right now or anybody in that industry and say, I'm having this problem, or I have this idea. Zoe and I talked just the other day, and she was talking about, you know, some stuff, and we just collaborated and talked, and it was fun. So it's a great industry.
All right, so let's get to your program, and I'm going to turn it over to you for a little bit so you can talk about Beehive Cheese and some of the things, and you have a little video, and you know, then we'll talk about and taste some cheese. How's that sound?
Awesome. I think I'm going to start with this short little video.
Pat Ford and Tim Welsh opened Beehive Cheese, 8 days of cheese making experience between the two of them. What they lacked in experience, they made up with enthusiasm and grit. They also had the help of their families. Check out this photo from 2005. Many of these folks still work at Beehive. In 2007, we won our first award for Barely Buzzed, and that launched us into the artisan cheese world. We get our cow's milk from Wadeland Dairy, located about 10 miles west of us on the Great Salt Lake. Clint Wade is a third-generation dairy farmer and has a mixed herd of Jersey and Holstein cows. We have a great partnership with Wadeland Dairy, and we've used their milk ever since we opened. Welcome to the West Building. This is where you'll find the creamery and our tiny retail shop. Wade's Dairy Milk Truck delivers fresh milk to this dock every midday. The 2 silos to the right are filled with whey that's stored to be hauled away and recycled into paints and other non-consumable products. It takes about 3 hours to make a batch of cheese. Here's a Lovio working the pasteurizer. From there, we fill the vat, warm the milk in a gentle steam bath, and then add rennet and cheese cultures. And then we wait for the curd to set. Here's Sean cutting the curd to make sure we have a good break before we use a special part to cut the curd into smaller bits. Next, we send the curds over to the finishing table and fill the vat again for another round of cheese making. Here's a time-lapse video of that process. All throughout the process, we're checking pH levels. Since we never standardize our milk, we must adjust our recipe based on the seasonality of the milk. The seasonal variation of milk composition means that we cannot rely on every batch progressing exactly the same way. Next, we drain the whey. Some of it goes to make fresh ricotta, and the rest goes to the whey silos outside. There's more waiting, more pH testing, and when the time is right, we cut the curds into 40-pound slabs. This begins the cheddaring process of flipping and stacking the slabs until, you guessed it, the pH is correct. All right, the slabs go into the mill to make what we all think of as fresh cheese curds. Those curds are salted until they're ready to be made into a beautiful wheel of Beehive cheese. We press the 20-pound wheels, trim them, and some go off to become rubbed rind cheeses like Barely Buzzed or Big John's Cajun, and the others age as Promontory or base cheddar. We age our cheese for about 6 months at 55 degrees, and then it's off to be cut and packaged. Here's a cool perk for our employees: 4 days per week. Beehive's Chef Heather cooks lunch for the crew. On to the East Building. Here is where the sales team lives, as well as the shipping department. We palletize large orders here and fulfill your online orders. Hey, there's Hayden on the forklift loading a pallet for a local distributor. From there, our cheese goes all over the country, especially to California. We also still participate in our local farmers market. Community is a core value for us. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we've donated about 130,000 pounds of cheese to our local food banks and food pantries.
We're excited to be delivering our cheese to the Utah Food Bank today.
None of this would be possible without the hard work and dedication of our cheese crew. They are total rock stars. Thanks again for visiting us here in Utah, and thank you to the California Artisan Cheese Guild for adopting our little creamery in northern Utah. Hello, and welcome to Ogden, Utah for your Beehive Cheese virtual tour.
That was a little video we produced for the California Artisan Cheese Guild, but it pretty much reflects everything that we do. So kind of going back to the start, my brother-in-law is my business partner, Tim Welsh, and he called me up one day about 16 years ago, and he laughed. He said, "Pat, I think we should go make cheese." And I'm like, "Well, we both have jobs." And he says, "Well, let's quit them and let's go make cheese." And we laughed and thought about it and saw a lot of opportunity. There was some beautiful cheeses starting to be made in the US, and we thought time is right, and the rest of the world, then heck yes, put our cheese on your menu and enjoy it. But if it's not as good, then shame on us. We've got work to do. And that's the cool thing about our industry. I mean, really, the artisan cheese movement in the US is really 15 to 20 years old. And then, you know, like you mentioned with David winning the best of in the world, the blue cheese last year. It's amazing. We as Americans are making amazing cheeses, and we're earning our right at the table. So it's pretty fun that way. No, it's so fun. We've loved the cheese industry, and we hope to love it for another 20 years. And it's so cool to see that. I remember I've given this example before, but it was in Burlington, Vermont in 2007. And the keynote speaker, I remember he started the conference, the ACS conference. It was in a big tent. And they said, "Is the sun rising or setting on artisan cheese?" And we had just quit our jobs, built a creamery, and we were certainly hoping it was rising on artisan cheese. But, you know, they said at the time, I think the number was 7 or 8% of Americans were eating artisan cheese. And now you've got really beautiful cheese sets, not only in just the amazing cheese shops of the world, like Antonelli's in Austin. You have got beautiful cheese sets in Kroger's and Publix and big cheese retailers. And so, you know, you can have really wonderful cheese and have the opportunity to enjoy cheese, and you can go in and you can get to know your cheesemonger, and you can say, "I am kind of scared of this type of cheese. Help me out. I don't necessarily like this type of cheese." And you know, the cheesemonger will say, "Well, let's give you a really mild, let's give you a Bay Blue to start with." And you're going to say, "Oh, I kind of like that." And then, you know, they'll work you into it, and they'll also make you look really good at your party, because they're going to think, "Wow, you really know your stuff." But really, the cheesemonger, you know, knows their stuff, and they are making you look good. So get to know the cheesemongers, try some new things, and you'll have a new favorite cheese every week. And then you'll just say, "Oh, I love all of them." So, well, when my wife and I mean, this is crazy, but when Tim was trying to convince me to quit my job and go make cheese, we went to a little cheese shop in Salt Lake called Liberty Heights Fresh. It's a beautiful little garage that rolls up. It's just a beautiful, beautiful spot. But we had a couple of cheeses, and this one cheese I really liked. I wrote down the name of it because I didn't want to forget it, because I really liked it. It was Parmigiano Reggiano. And so that's how much I knew about cheese when we started. But my wife, she, to this day, does not like goat cheese. We had goats growing up, and anyway, she just doesn't do goat cheese. But we devoured a Harbison the other night, and 5 years ago, if I had given her a round of Harbison, she would have shot me, because there's no way she was going to eat that. And I mean, I'm like, are you going to leave me some, dear? I mean, we devoured the whole thing. And Zoe will be, this was crazy. We are having a chuck roast, and we had Harbison and a baguette. And I tell you, the chuck roast, kind of burnt chuck roast, was insanely good with Harbison. It sounds really weird, but oh, it was amazing. But again, we all are evolving and learning and finding new favorites all the time. And then you go back to the old favorites, but it's so fun. Funny story too. So my dad, we introduced him to Andy Hatch, and he had some Pleasant Ridge Reserve, and he was instantly in love for life. And so Dad was ordering the cheese off of their website, and he felt like he was cheating on us because he loved the Pleasant Ridge Reserve so much. And we're like, Dad, it's okay. But yeah, it's fun. It's so fun. We have just a teeny little retail sell shop here at the creamery, but we have our friends' cheese in that case, and we sell it and just promote it. And it's a great community. Thank you for everybody. And Michael, thanks to you for promoting cheese through COVID. We've all had a, huge change, life-changing experiences last year. And I'll just tell one story. They talked about in the video donating some cheese, but come April last year, we were producing 4 days a week, and all of a sudden our POs turned off. We were done. There was no POs coming in, whether it was retail, food service. It was just crazy. And so we slowed down on producing. And when we slowed down, then our dairy's like, hey guys, I'm still milking. What are we going to do? And anyway, Dairy West is a Utah co-op where they, so for every 100 pounds of milk that's milked, they put a nickel in a rainy day fund. And so they actually bought the milk, paid for our labor only, and we donated the cheese to the local food banks. We made curds, and we send out 130,000 bags of 1 pound bags of curds to the local food banks. And, we all teamed up together and we got through it. And again, it was a collaborative effort. Retailers were calling us up saying, hey, what do you need to sell? Because we don't want you to go away during this year. So we have lots. Thank you so much to everybody for supporting us and helping us through a tough time. And we're not out of it yet. We need to keep supporting our restaurants and keep supporting our local creameries. That's about all I've got, Michael.